background.
Alrighty, we are live officially for the first ever BlusTech interview podcast, whatever we want to call this. What I'm doing right now.
Pretty cool.
Welcome everyone. This is Fastback from NLG, the OG-NLG. How y'all doing tonight?
Everybody.
So
To be here. It's an honor.
It's an honor to have you, man. So tonight I think we're gonna be talking about hobbies and life stories and just kind of shooting the shit. I don't have a beat button. Dang it. How's our sound, everybody? Is it all right? Just curious.
To set up the background.
Says there's an echo on Chris at the moment. For sound.
Echo?
I don't hear an echo. But they do. Anywho. Go echoes, echoes, echoes. We'll figure it out. Yeah, they can deal with it. They're here for the content, not the sound. So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? Do you have any siblings or anything?
Yep. Had brothers. One's 2 years younger than me. 45. I have another brother 10 years younger than me. In Texas. The other one that's 2 years younger lives in Florida.
Okay.
And then I have a sister she was in 97, so she's 21 or 22 at FSU.
Wow, 97. That's younger than me, man. I always feel like I'm the youngest one in the room when I talk to everybody in the community.
What apart are you and Jeremy?
We're 8 years apart. I was born in 90. He was born in 82, I think. So.
And my youngest brother is 83.
So
I'm gonna fart.
Having that varying range between the ages, how did that affect your hobbies growing up? Like, did your hobbies become their hobbies? Did their hobbies become your hobbies?
The brother that's 2 years younger than me pretty much had the same hobbies because it's an age. We with the same toys, like the same cartoons. Of course, we both were gamers together. So, always player 1, player 2. So, fought about that. Who's gonna be player 1 or? Yeah, pretty much. The one brother that's 2 years younger than me, we pretty much shared everything, same hobbies. Youngest was trying to catch us. He saw me and my brother playing a Nintendo. We gave him the third controller that wasn't plugged in. He thought he was playing.
Yeah,
that's the way it worked for him. And of course, he grew up as a gamer too, but wanted to prove to us, hey, I could beat y'all too. Older, so.
Good call, Mike. You were absolutely correct. I was capturing his NDI output. That was completely unintentional. Thank you. Sound issue should be corrected as of now.
Mike knows. He's always trying to fix everything on my end.
Yeah, it had just added another random input for you, so I didn't notice because I didn't scroll down.
It's the first time I've done this on Discord. It's different the way the camera. Maybe it's because it's two of us, so we're both closer up. I'm so used to doing it on the podcast with Mike, small pictures, and to get us all in.
Yeah, I've been experimenting.
Says that sounds sexy stuff.
I've been experimenting
But it's a
with
good layout. I like it.
different layouts. I really like having the half and half layouts with two people. I think I actually want to switch the Two Brothers podcast that I do with Jeremy to something closer to this. I want to maintain the branding that we've got, but like kind of minimalize the bars a bit because I like this open feel that this gives. It gives you more of a view of the people that are talking and whatnot.
Yeah, got a good chat going on there.
Yeah,
Gamer.
it is
My
going
brother
great.
Mike. Got Techno Fabulous John, also
Yep.
from Indo. Glad to see you brothers here.
Got the crew going. It is great. 8 concurrent viewers at the moment. I don't have my YouTube
And
little icon at the bottom of the screen on this one.
the indie gamer, if you don't follow him, give him a follow. Awesome guy. Thing with John, there's HTK.
Yeah,
The indie gamer, I did a show with him not too long ago. I think you jumped in there.
I
We were talking
probably
about
did. I've followed most of the people that like most of the regular commenters that have channels. I've followed most of them, so I'll have to go back and check on Indie Gamer though.
and definitely.
Yeah. My chat never goes this fast, so I'm like spending half the time reading the chat.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
got a good, you know, I got a good group of friends here that have been together for a while, for a few years. So,
Thank you,
support's
Indie
always
Gamer.
been great with these guys.
So, growing up, what are some of your more favorite favorite memories? Doing hobbies with your siblings or your family or alone. What were the things that really got you going when you were a kid?
Man, we were all over the place. My brothers, we grew up in an apartment there for about 9 years. I was there from like third grade to when I graduated from high school. And we had a good group of friends. Lived there in the apartment, played football and baseball, everything you can think of in apartments, whether in the street. And so we had the apartments, we had a nice little field there, soccer, whatever, football. We would play war.
Mm.
People had their own little guns. You don't see that nowadays, but back then we grabbed a branch off the tree, and everybody had to make believe gun. Running around. I mean, I had pretty much had a lot of freedom growing up. To the local park, swimming. Back then, I remember, I think it was like 25 cents, 50 cents in the
Oh
pool.
Lord, yeah. It was not that cheap when I was a kid.
We had a basketball court there, so I was very athletic, so I always had a pickup game there on the basketball court, swimming. I had a couple other buddies that I would always go visit. I had still a best friend to this day. His name is Joe. I used to go to his house all the time. Another friend in that neighborhood across from him, Fred, we used to call him One Nut Fred. He only had one nut. He we grew up poor, so we didn't have a lot as toys. Somehow my mom or my dad gave her the money. She surprised us with the NES, and then years later, I guess when the NES came out, my buddy One Nut Fred, he had everything. The guy was spoiled. His mom was a nurse. This guy had everything. So anything that I didn't have, I was missing out on. Like let's say like earlier, I was season gaming, and you were thinking about the Master System, the Sega Master System.
Yeah.
The only time I played that was at his house. He had everything. He had every game, computer. Played games on that. And of course, every toy you can think of. He-Man and
Yeah.
G.I. Joes and Star Wars figures. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I did was gaming, brother. We were both real big into it. I mean, that's what we did during the summer. That's what we did late at night. I'm gonna tell us go to bed. We go to bed till she fell asleep. Come back out. You know, and it real low the TV. When she would catch us, we would turn off the TV, out the NES, go to bed, wait till she fell asleep, came back out, TV, and because the NES back then we didn't have no. We can
Yeah.
now. We can pause our games and stuff like that. You had to leave the console on, so we were pretty sneaky. You know, every times friends are running around outside late at night, they're all playing war. Same thing, mom. You know, I know she gave us all kinds of freedom during the day, but when it was at night, it's like you're inside.
Yeah.
We'd sneak outside and we'd leave the door unlocked and got away with it for a while. And sometimes she'd get up and she didn't know we were outside. She locked the door home and we couldn't get in. So we climbing it because we lived upstairs. We would climb to the window.
Mm-hmm.
She finally caught onto that one night when I snuck out. I put a kitchen string, tied it to my sheet,
Mm-hmm.
did that to the bedpost, and upstairs wasn't that high enough. I was pretty long. I'd hang and then jump down, but I had the fishing string hanging. So I didn't know it was gonna work, but so one night I was decided that I'm ready to go back inside. I pulled the fishing string down, got the sheet, and I put myself up just enough to get myself inside. So
Nice.
I wasn't wild, like crazy wild. Like I didn't get in trouble like with the law or anything like that. But my brother, we try to get sneaky as we can, and we just wanted to play.
Right.
Oh, it was a combination. We were inside and outside. We did game a lot. We'd stay up until the sun comes up. Try to play as much as we can outside. But I grew up on the coast here in Texas.
Okay.
I was also a beach bum. We were at the beach all the time. We were like fish in the water. Mom would just go and she'd be sunbathing. Didn't give a care. She just like, hey, make sure you come back. We're out in the water like nothing. As far as we can go. We're like mile down and we have to walk back because of the tide, the current.
Yeah.
Growing up, just a lot of freedom.
Yeah, I don't know. Growing up, I had a lot of freedom too, and like now that I'm a parent, like the nerves, like my nerves
Yes.
when it has to do with my kid, like I just like I want to be able to go do whatever you want. That's fine. But like on the inside I'm like, "Oh god, don't break another bone." So like that balancing act is just so horrible.
I know, I don't get it too. I mean, my mom was not a helicopter parent, that's what they call us nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I try to give my daughters freedom they need, and we do it with like being more careful about it. So that let's say they go to a friend's house, we know the person and all that. My mom, I tell you, majority of the time she didn't even know what we were, where we're at, as long as we came back home. Time so.
Yeah, free range, as it were.
But yeah, growing up, really my hobby was, I would say the main hobby was gaming.
Gaming.
And just whatever toys we could. Yeah. So, and we kind of fueled that because we didn't have money. I swear, I don't know how we got our games. We never asked our mom to buy us games because every time she said no. So, the apartments that we grew up in, we had friends that we can go, hey, let's borrow, we'll trade. Hey, we got this. What do you have? My brother was the one who did it most. My brother was a hustler, a little con artist, little magician. This is the one that's 2 years younger. And all right, I'll be back. I'm gonna go see what I can get. So he'd get out and come back, and he'd get some decent games. So we started with Mario, with the NES, and somehow you went and got Karate Champ, and I think, and then somehow he ended up getting Zelda. Like some of these good games that he found a flea market not too far, but and guess this guy was the beginning of like GameStop, you know,
I don't
a
know
little
if
flea
that's
market
necessarily
trading
a good
games,
thing.
and that could have been the start. But uh, my brother would go over there and played some of the games that we've already, you know. No, I remember he traded one of the Zelda games, and I was kind of off at first. I was like, wait a minute, Zelda, you can't just trade that. Like, yeah, but you know, and I go, what did he give you? And, um, I remember every game we got, but I remember just two that I remember the most. Was one was it was Shadowgate. Um,
Haven't played that one, I don't think.
and you know that's the one where you're walking through a castle and you have decisions what doors to go through
Oh, okay, yeah.
of a puzzle solving. Shadowgate,
It sounds like a
and
game I played, but I don't remember then if it was called
uh,
Shadowgate or not.
then one of my favorite games that I never did beat back was Nightshade.
Nightshade?
And yeah, and it's not a well known game. Um, It's one of those. It's kind of like an open world, and to go here and there, and you're trying to solve a crime, and you get to the main boss, in the city. And um, what was cool about that is when you died, to solve a puzzle to get out, and then you know back in the world. Um, when I finally got to the main boss, I just could not beat him over
Mm.
and over, and just gave up. And I don't even know what happened to that game. I somebody the other day that I my mom doesn't really throw away a lot of stuff, so she has a storage over here in Tallahassee, Florida, and she has some of our stuff for kids. So I suspect there's a box Atari 2600, the NES, maybe the Super NES of our old games. So go over there next time I go visit. I'm going to go find that box before
Yeah,
my brother does. So
I was
we kind of each other about that. So,
my mom's actually just about to move as well. I'm moving and she's moving at the same time. Uh and I was just over there grabbing some stuff that she's just getting rid of because it's a purge move for her. So she's like getting rid of everything. And I found this little suitcase that like I instantly knew what it was and like I was just amazed. I hadn't thought about it in 15 plus years, 20 years, and like I knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly what was in it, and I was just like astounded that it even still existed and wasn't in some landfill somewhere. And it had my entire collection of Digimon cards that I had from when I was a
oh
kid,
yeah.
and it had like a whole bunch of my nicer, older, vintage Hot Wheels cars in it, and I was like, yes, mine. So I snatched that up and that's where I was right before the interview. I snatched that up and brought it home.
Um, that's another little hobby. Uh, See, my brother, he, you know, yeah. John, I just have some Dr. Pepper, but if I had some whiskey, I would have put some in there. Um,
Jameson Black Label.
oh, I was saying that you know we were poor, so and like the toys that we got, mom didn't buy us all these toys. My brother, along with being a con man and a magician, he liked to read magician books. He had that 5 finger discount local stores. So he would walk to the stores and go steal GI Joes, GI Joe accessories, all that little stuff that he could. And um, he still remember Garbage Pail Kids, collect those.
Vaguely.
They're kind of baseball cards, same thing, but they look like Cabbage Patch dolls. I don't know if you Cabbage Patch
Yeah,
just had like this
I remember
wee
Cabbage
face.
Patch. I had a sister.
Yeah. Oh, but the Garbage Pail Kids had that look of the Cabbage Patch Kids. They were like different, like gross looking. You know,
Hmm.
one could be like a dumpster. There's just different one. One looked like a pizza. You know, those were real famous back then. When I save those and I trade those around and um
Yeah, see, I grew up during the Beanie Baby era, so
yeah.
yeah, the Beanie Baby and the Furby, you know, That are
Yep, I remember that.
yeah. So I didn't get the super cool collectible stuff, unfortunately.
There was also, maybe some of the guys in like John. He's about my age. There was these little wrestlers. They're about a inch high, maybe 2 inches. Were pink, and you had like a pack of different types of wrestlers,
That's
and
cool.
would try to get those. And of course, my brother, that 5 finger discount coupon at Walmart. He finally got caught. Um, I remember my mom asking me. So she finally went through his room and found all these toys. I was smart. I made sure I had none of those things in my room. Like, so did you know about this? I'm like, know about what? The toys that your brother's been selling. You've been selling all these toys? I didn't know about it.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah. I was gonna tell on him, but I wasn't gonna,
Exactly.
to,
Learn at a young age.
yes.
So that kind of ties.
He took.
That all kind of ties in with one of the next big questions. How did how do your hobbies from when you were a kid tie into what your hobbies are now as an adult? Like, do you still? I mean, obviously, I know you still game. Um, do you still do the other stuff?
Uh, okay, so as far as the toys, I'm not really big on collecting toys.
Mm-hmm.
I probably have, but the one thing that I'm so big on is Hot Wheels.
Hot
We're talking
Wheels.
about Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Um, I had a few. I didn't really collect them when I was a kid. I mean, I had them. I played with them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but, and I remember one time that there's one big reason why I love Hot Wheels, and now that I collect. So when we were at the beach and I was just digging around, I found a Hot Wheel. And I know this Hot Wheel had been old, and I might still have it at my mom's in the storage. It was like an old. It had to been around like maybe a 70s or early 80s version. It's one of the Hot Wheels. It wasn't, their versions. They're kind of weird looking Hot Wheels. It was, and it just stuck to me because I found it at the beach, and it was like magic. It's like luck. So as I got older, and this is probably 90s, I just got into the habit of buying the Hot Wheel collector editions. Would
Yeah.
have certain, like they had one where it's like this, different, the different like bars, different like indie type editions.
Yep. Yep.
I would get into all that, and I have a big old tote full of few of the collectible, editions. You get all the different whatever they had for that.
Yeah. When I
So I have a
started
tote of that.
when I started getting more Hot Wheels was after my older brother or my two brothers and my sister had moved out and money was less tight. I I started being able to get more things. So I started collecting Hot Wheels a little bit more. I kind of fell out of it, after I left mom and dad's, things just never kind of clicked back into gear for them, but I think now that I've got my 6-year-old son, and I think it'd be something fun for both of us to do. So I'll probably try. It's probably one of the things I'm gonna try and get back into.
I, um, I went from collecting all the sets and to get every Hot Wheel that I could, complete a set. Stopped doing that, and I went to just the Mustangs
Mm-hmm.
because I'm all about the Mustangs. So I'm
Mm.
wearing the Mustang shirt. Uh, so of course that's probably where going from the Hot Wheels and cars getting into Mustangs, and so I have a whole shelf full of Mustang I can find from Hot Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
A few bigger die-cast ones. Where'd that pencil go? And
It flew away.
um, so of course that obsession of Mustangs, I guess another hobby of mine as an adult. My dad uh, worked on Mustangs. He was in the
Okay.
military. Um, the motor pool, uh, his last couple years, Air Force. But he always went out there. Him and a buddy would go out there and buy up a bunch of hot rods and fix them up and sell them. But I always remember the majority of those. And
Yeah, I grew
favorite
up.
one was
I grew up with.
Did you grow up the same?
Close. Torino, Gran Torinos. So I actually learned left from right, when I was, I don't know, like 4 years old. I learned left from right, standing on the, or next to the fender of the Torino. It was that dark green with metallic flake color that they did, like super beautiful green. And I grew up and I learned left from right with my dad working on the Torino. And like my earliest like conscious memory that I have since corroborated with my dad was from when I was a super super small child, like I don't know, maybe 2 years old or something. And I remember being in the front seat of the Torino and the front end coming up off of the ground because
Nice.
that was a Cobra Jet car. So
Yeah.
it,
I as I got older and I started recognizing the Torinos, and like those are nice. I would not mind
Mhm.
having that along with the Mustang. Like
Yeah.
they also have that fastback, kind of have the longer
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
those are nice.
I'm not talking about the the grocery getter
Oh,
Torino. I'm definitely talking about the fastback Torinos.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
I also grew up with
so
72-ish Chargers, like
okay, yeah.
and yeah, 72 Charger Rally, beautiful cars.
No, my dad said. I remember, as I got older, when we started talking about all this, I'm like, Dad, what all cars did you work on? I mean, I remember the Mustangs, but so he had everything. Euro SS's, a couple of the Challengers or the Charger. He had one Charger. He said that had a slapstick
Hmm.
shifter. He even said that I was in his lap one time. I mean, slap it, slap it. We were driving because I remember him. We'd sit in the back of the Mustang, the '67 Fastback, and I always tell him go faster. And he always, I asked him. I said, so what else? Because that one he had that one all hand built,
Hmm.
had a built motor for that. And I said, so what did you do? What did you used to run in the quarter and all that stuff? He said that one ran 11s. And that's pretty good for back then. This is
Oh yeah.
early '80s, or all motor. So, my dad knew what he was doing. One funny thing is, had a had one car that was you okay?
Yeah, my son just opened the door.
Uh,
It's all good.
you go take care of him real quick. You can if you need.
No, he knows I'm recording. He said he was just checking on me.
Okay.
He does that occasionally. It's cute.
My dad had this one car that was sitting a long time for a couple years. Never remember ever seeing what it was. So, Dad had bought me and my brother BB guns.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
Us how to use them, and here, put these targets over here. Display showed us exactly where to shoot.
That car's
Let us go
windows were
on,
not long for this world.
let us have the video. Let us have the freedom. Go out, boom, 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 shoot everything like you said. Started trying to shoot birds flying around, and I guess at some point we weren't trying to shoot the car, but I guess when you miss, or got hit, didn't know because it was covered. One day, someone came over to buy it, and had little areas where little cracks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was from BB gun. Dad was pissed.
Yeah.
Of course, we talked about it later on when we got older. Now I know why he was pissed, because it was a 64 and a half.
Oof.
Oh,
Big
those are
oof.
very rare.
Yeah.
64 and a half coupe, very rare. They're out there, but I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. So he had to knock down the price a little bit.
My
Told him,
dad.
yeah, I would have whipped my ass too.
Yeah. My dad sold the Torino in probably 95 or 96. And like, you know, now I'm aware of how the car market fluctuates, but like in 95 and 96, a Torino of that era, I was like a $2,000 car.
Yeah.
And that's about what he sold it for. And it was mint, like mint. And it was also a factory screw up car because it had a drag pack, and it was a one owner. It had a drag pack, but it was not numbers matching drag pack from the factory. It was crazy. But I actually still know where that car is, and because it holds such sentimental value for me, like learning left and right and working on it from when I was a kid, someday, I'm going to buy it. And that someday may be a lot closer than I think it is now that I'm selling my house.
Should because I asked my dad, and my dad passed away about 5 years ago. But we were so closer as adults, both into cars, and we would talk about all that stuff. And I asked him, what happened to, because it is 6.7 also.
Mm-hmm.
It got hard, and he ended up selling it. And he sold it to somebody down in Corpus. I grew up in Corpus, so but trying to find a VIN number, try to find to see if he had a copy of it anywhere, so we can try to track it down. But we never did find it, so I don't know. I'm sure with the internet, I can try to talk to people out there in the Mustang world and see, or asking questions, and
Yeah.
it's a Mustang there in Corpus, but he bought it from Power Bluff or blah blah blah, and I'm sure I could trace it. But I can imagine nowadays, if Brad has it now, maybe they took care of it, probably want 30,000-40,000 to fix it up, because Fastback, those years, expensive.
I remember I've heard my dad talk a lot about how he traced, or how he had to, trace the car's lineage, even though it was still like a one owner, like I said, how he had to trace the lineage from dealership to dealership and all the way back to the factory when he bought it, because nobody believed him that it was a factory screw up and that he hadn't messed with it and this and that. And like, it took him years to get through all of the layers because like dealerships had closed, and like, I remember he talked about one of the main places where one of the dealerships kept all their files had burned down, and it just so happened that one of the documents that survived was to the Torino. So he got super lucky because he actually got a copy of the build sheet. Or no, I think the way he said it was the lady at the dealership asked if he wanted a copy of it, and he said, "Can I just have this one?" And she let him take the original.
It's gonna be real hard if I could find it.
Yeah, I mean,
I do have a
it's difficult.
I do have a tattoo. Hard to see.
Nice.
There's a tattoo of the Fastback.
Yeah, I kind of grew up the other direction, and
dad's as close as possible.
I have the Mitsubishi symbol if the lighting will be decent.
Cool. One cool memory that my dad told me, we're telling Dad, how can we do any of these cars for us? Because brother that's 2 years younger than me, he's a car guy also.
Mm-hmm.
Also a Mustang. My dad, the cars that he had bought and fixed up was a Shelby GT 68.
Mm-hmm.
It was the coupe. It wasn't a Fastback. So the doctor in California bought it from my dad, but my dad drove it over there.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was 70 something. So my dad said when he drove it over there, the guy, of course, the guy had money and he had a huge place, a big old garage. That guy had every thing collectible you can think of version that he was collecting, and so my dad had the last one that he wanted. Doctor and his wife were real nice with my dad. I got to spend the night. They had dinner. When my dad went to go check out all the cars, he let my dad drive a couple of them, and he were interested. That was were cool, and then they even paid for my dad to fly back to. I think
Nice.
we were dad was stationed in New Mexico, so
Yeah, I think
I thought there was.
when it comes to
Just thought it was awesome that he had a Shelby.
yeah. Yeah,
Something like that. If he still had that,
oh, it'd be worth
take care of it. And then went
small
to the like the
fortune.
Meekum auction.
Yep.
I saw your hat the other day when you were on with Mike, and I was like, oh, okay, he's a car guy.
Yeah.
Fact, what's funny?
I go to
Kind
Kissimmee every year with my dad, actually.
oh, okay. And I've always watched those shows, Meekum and other one, but I like the Meekum a little bit more because it seems a little bit more down to. I could go there and I might be able to afford something.
Mm-hmm.
Not the other one. What's the other one that Barrett Jackson?
Barrett Jackson.
That
yeah.
one's a little bit more higher end, I guess. Meekum was supposed to be here in Houston here.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling my dad that said, "Hey, Dad, let's go, and we'll go stay overnight, and we'll go." We probably weren't going to buy anything.
No, but it's fun to go
Oh.
regardless.
Yeah.
It's one giant car show, and it usually lasts for a full week or weekend. If you do go and you want to buy something, don't go on the weekend. That's my suggestion.
Too many people to deal with.
Yeah, you won't. Yeah, there's too much competition on the weekends. Fridays and Saturdays specifically seem to be the worst. But yeah, you can definitely get some good deals at Meekum, especially if you wait for the people who where the bid goes on, and you talk to them after, because you can circumnavigate Meekum and their fees and just yeah.
Yeah.
Because
like one day.
it's not so uncommon that like they'll accept the price that they let the bid go on for outside of Meekum because they don't have to pay the 10% or whatever it is, because it's just easy. no paperwork through Meekum that way.
Might just do that.
Yeah, I mean, if I ever see a reasonably priced, and this is a hard sell, a reasonably priced 72 Corvette, dual chrome bumpers, black, red, or the light blue, convertible, 4-speed. I don't care about the motor size. It doesn't matter to me.
You can check that anytime.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't have to be numbers matching. It just clean body, clean paint, no rust. I'm in heaven there. I've always loved the dual chrome bumper looking Stingrays. Always loved them.
Those are good years. I'm more partial with the 60s and the 70s. I think a lot of people are.
Yeah, they only made the dual the front and rear chrome bumpers for 3 years, I think it was. So they're not as rare as like a split window or something, but they're getting rarer by the day. I remember when you used to be able to buy them, like you could buy them for $6-7 grand all day long, and now you're looking at 10 for one that's a rusted pile of crap, and like 30 to 50 for something that 15 years ago would have been okay.
Yeah, that's how it is with that it's harder to find fastbacks. Some people are sort of like, oh, I can get a coupe.
Mm-hmm.
So those up nice because those are going up too. And now they're making it easier where you can buy a kit and convert it to a fastback. So I've seen some people starting to do that. So
I'm a big fan of the retro mod scene. I mean, I'm all for, like, if you have a numbers matching beautiful all original car, I'm all for not modifying it. That is fine. But like if it's not all numbers matching and it's not perfect and all original, there's no point in trying. So like embrace it. I have a 76 MG midget in the garage that I'm putting a Nissan Silvia motor and transmission into it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's going from like 50 rated horsepower, more like 25. It's going from about 50 rated horsepower and a 4-speed manual transmission to 250 turboed with a 5-speed on a 1,300-pound convertible car. That's my vet killer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Remember you talking about that. I'm a car guy. I love all kinds of cars, just Mustangs, and definitely love cars from Japan. Remember growing up in school and I was working at a convenience store and go outside and I saw a brand new 100Z.
Mm-hmm.
I love, back then I was like, oh, I love the way they look, the shape, and it's gonna go, hey, how much is one of those? Like, well, it's a lot of money, but if you work hard, a military guy, whatever.
Right.
I remember I always, adding the not the RX-7, the one that came out before it.
Before or after?
X, or the RX-7.
That was before my entry.
Yeah, so I always enjoyed a lot of those cars from Japan.
Maybe the 240Zs or 280Zs from back
Might
in
have
the
been
day.
a 280Z.
Those things are beautiful, like the late or mid 70s 280s. Those cars are absolutely
Buddy at work
gorgeous.
has a Celica GTS.
Oh, you mean a miniature Camaro?
Almost in mint condition.
The ones that are like a half scale sized Camaro? Yeah. Those things are beautiful. I've always wanted one. Yeah. I've always wanted to do a big build in one of those things because, oh, they're so sweet.
I mess around. I had a Ford Probe E4. I had fun with that. Didn't really do much to it. I've had different. I've had a Chevy stepside 69. I've had a 22 Ford truck. That one had a nice. I think that one had a 361. Nice, but the brake was shit. Booster or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One time that thing started going out with me, and I remember coming into my dad's driveway, and his truck stopped my truck. Was not happy with that. But those things were built. Those things were tough, so it didn't really do a lot of damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was fun times. I remember picking up an '84 Camaro, but what's funny is I didn't have a lot of money, so I had to afford what I could get. It wasn't even a V8 or a V6. It was a 4-cylinder, one of the first 4-cylinder fuel injection.
Mm.
Oh, it's fun to drive. It was cool. It was white with blue interior. I had plans on later on. But I've always been more partial to Fords. I grew up listening to my dad. He worked on both, but my dad always had Ford. Once he got done with all the hot rods, he'd had Ford trucks, older, 70 models, and that's pretty much what he did, mess with. He'd have a 360 or 361 in one, a 390 in another, and he'd swap them.
Mm.
Just like on the weekend, my dad was one of those like, all right, let's I didn't do a lot of that work with him. My brother, that's 2 years younger, did. My parents were separated. With my dad, much high school years. But sometimes I'd come over and I'm like, oh yeah, the weekend they put in a new motor, put another motor in. Or when gas prices went up, it switched from a 2-barrel to 4-barrel.
Mm.
I see him on the porch. He'd be sitting there, a kid reading a carburetor. He kind of taught us try to just go buy a new part all the time.
Yeah, don't do that.
Go to pick and pull, and you can find a part there, or sometimes you could fix them. And that's, even though I don't have all the knowledge of doing a whole motor and swapping, I never went that far. I've always been able to change out parts and sometimes even just tinker with them and splice some wires here and there, or whatever you got to do to get something to work.
On older stuff,
That's
doing a
in a
whole
way
motor
that's
is not even that bad. Like it's like
yeah,
4
and that
wires and 12 bolts and
yeah.
pull the thing.
I think as far as I went was on that '84 Camaro. Blew a head gasket one day.
Mm.
So my dad's like, "Well, heads off and let's see if they look and we see if we resurface." And I did that, and I didn't have a problem doing it. I mean, I know there's nothing I couldn't do. So I haven't said my. I went in the Air Force in '94, became a jet engine mechanic. That's what my career is. I was a jet engine mechanic for forever since '94, and then the last 10 plus years, quality inspector.
Mm.
Never had a problem getting my hands dirty.
Yeah, my
You know.
I recently had what I call a very traumatic experience in my life. I about a month ago, like I I put my house up for sale, and I had to get rid of something that I've had since I was 16. Um, it wasn't my first car, but it was like my first love affair car, as it were. Um, it was a '92 Mitsubishi 3000 GT BR4. It was all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering. I had a not stock 3.5 liter in it, that was turboed, and it had 950cc E85 injectors, and oh, I miss that car. The traumatic part of the experience is when I moved to Florida from Iowa 6.5 years ago. 2 weeks before I moved here, uh, I spun a bearing in that car, and I was so dedicated to that car that I towed it down here with a spun bearing behind the U-Haul. And it got here, and it still ran, it still started, still ran, no problem. Like, you didn't want to drive it anywhere, but so I figured, it's only like a $500 fix, no big deal. But the more I thought about it, I was like, but if the motor is coming apart, I can't justify just doing a $500 fix. Like, I should do a motor build. And then that's when it got put on the 5-year track. And then it got put on the side of the house. And then a month ago, I junked it. And
you just junked it. Nobody.
I put it up.
That's one of those cars.
I put it up for sale for like a month, but and I had some people who were interested, but then COVID hit, and then like I didn't like I'm selling my house. I don't really have a choice, so it had to be gone. Yeah. But yeah, there was easily $9,000 worth of parts on that car sitting in my local LKQ now. So congratulations, if you're into 3000 GTs, go to the Daytona LKQ and get all the parts you want, bastards.
This is one of those cars that kind of got under. We're aware of them, but they just were not.
Yeah, they're underappreciated because
clips and
well, people think that they expected them to be something that they're not. They buy the car thinking it's going to be a fast tuner, a quarter-mile drag car. It's a GT. It's a Grand Tour car, okay? This is meant for like long stretches, good travel, good long curves. That's why it has all-wheel steer that only activates over 60 miles an hour. Like, it was so ahead of its time. It was crazy.
It was. Remember, it was a car that was kind of similar looking. It was a freaking at work had one. It was a Dodge
Stealth.
Yeah. Remember, buddy had it, and I remember he had it, and I'm like, "Why are you driving this one? You should be driving if you like this type of car, you should be driving the Mitsubishi one that you had." I'm like, no, this one's not the good one.
Well, the funny thing is, and you'll get I'll get in trouble with any Mitsubishi fanboys that are out there, but I tell you what, the 3000 GT and the Dodge Stealth were not DSM cars. Every single Dodge Stealth or 3000 GT was manufactured in Japan. Not a single one was made here. The only difference between the two cars were the bumpers and some minor trim moldings. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, there was no. Everybody thought there were transmission differences or engine differences or intake different. No difference. Like, my main course of work for a very extended stretch of my life was working on exclusively 3000 GTs and Dodge Stealths. No, that is not how it is.
I don't know why. I prefer the 3000 GT over the Dodge Stealth. I don't
They
really
look
like the look
better.
as much.
They just look better.
So yeah, that's another hobby that I got into really because being a car enthusiast is my dad. So and work on cars all the time. And what's funny is that I always thought that he loved Mustangs,
Mm-hmm.
not to the point where I did.
Right.
Where I'm obsessed with Mustangs, like my favorite. I have to have a 6768. Next Mustang is gonna be a 6768 Fastback or a coupe, and I'll convert it. I don't have no problem with that. I've wasted so much money on newer Mustangs. So, I've had a 97 Cobra. That thing was fun, very fun. Had a 2000 GT, the GT.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been nice. Did a lot of bolt-ons on that. Nothing crazy. I had fun with it. I remember a buddy at work in the Camaros. So when I bought my 97 Cobra, he bought his 8. It had an SS package.
Mm.
So it was rated at 320 instead of 300. Cobra at the time was only like 305 or whatever. Of course, when we got it, we used to always go run lunchtime, whatever. Had fun. So at the time, I was with Otis's mom. I have 2 other kids, so I didn't have the money to just all this stuff and do, whatever you want to do with the vehicle. Did because he still lived at home, and so he ended up building that Camaro up, and man, that thing was fun. I used to go run with them, go around racing people. People would come, and where I worked was on the Air Force Base, where I still do. It was a long stretch. People would come at night because we were working night shift. Go out there and run them. We'd run in his car, and I had fun in mine. So I started tuning it up, with the exhaust, the headers, the plenum.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting that, and I had it ported out, kind of breathe a little bit more, and had a cold air. And then I tuned it at 373, put on that. That thing crazy, but it was a difference from being stock. And I remember a friend of ours, he had a 350Z. They first came out,
Mm-hmm.
and my Mustang was stock. He would pull on me. Once I went put the bolt-ons and all that stuff and had a tune would pull on him. It was just fun, just having fun.
Yeah.
We used to go to the track once in a while, and I never really got serious. I would have been fun to build a car to run 10s because Buddy was trying to do that. I remember he was running low 11s to it. He ran a low 11.3 or so, but but that was all motor, whatever he can do. I know he had built heads like that, but
yeah, I was never much of a track guy myself. I mean, the closest we got to doing track was we would break into a circle track. When I was like 17, we would break into the circle track, every other week or something. We just like open the gate and take the cars out on the circle track in our town, and that was fun until we started realizing that the compound they use on the track eats regular tires.
Because I learned that too when people will be like, "Why is everybody looking for a set of tires?" That real quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Uh, so we would break in and take our cars on there, and we'd take our motorcycles on there too. Because I was into motorcycles for a while. I actually really missed the freedom of being on a motorcycle. It's dangerous as hell, especially the older
Yeah,
I get. Like, I realize it's a stupid idea, but
so I
sometimes.
never really got into motorcycles. My dad had motorcycles rides, but I don't know why. I do. I've always been kind of afraid. I love the way they look. I've ridden a couple as a kid, but I just never
Yeah, when I
too
moved
chicken
down
shit.
here, like for me, it wasn't even a safety issue. Like, not really when I moved down here, but like in Iowa, see, I could do a wheelie right in front of a cop, and like the procedure was the same every time. He'd flip his lights on, I'd pull over, I'd get off my bike, I'd take my helmet off, he'd walk up to me, he'd say thank you for stopping, knock it off, have a nice day. I did one wheelie down here in Florida, and they said, we're gonna let you off this time because you're new and you're actually moving here. But I just want to let you know, it's $1,000 mother effing fine. And the second time you do it's $2,000, and the third time you do it's $3,000 and up to 5 years in jail. I was like, for a wheelie? You must be insane. So like within 2 weeks of moving here, I sold my motorcycle.
They're the one that's 2 years younger than me. He lives in Panama City.
Yeah,
Into bikes.
I'm in Daytona, so we've got Biketoberfest and Bike Week and all
You
that
got a
stuff.
good car scene over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Th- by way of local car scene, there is none. Um,
It isn't there. I could have sworn I remember reading and seeing about Mustang. It's like gathering that goes on.
yeah,
Maybe it's just a big old
there are
right.
gatherings. There are definitely gatherings. Like there's Jeep gatherings and there's Mustang gatherings, and like there's Turkey Rod Run, which happens every year, which is the biggest car show slash parts exchange in the United States every year. That happens twice a year. Like it's great for non-locals, but like there's no real local car scene here anymore. Not since like
Yeah, yeah.
30 years, probably 30 plus years. Cuz yeah, like
Here, I'm in San Antonio. Uh, I was running around. The car scene was pretty good. Like we would Friday nights, we'd go gather at this place in this shopping center. Burger joint there called Biff's Burgers. One of those. Hey, it's Friday night. The lot would be full of all kinds of cars with money. I remember there was a guy there that had an Eleanor clone,
mhm.
a big block in there. Really familiar with all the latest blocks, but then you have a newer mod in there. Over mode. I don't know. Just I mean, just crazy stuff that you saw.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed it. I would take my oldest out there once in a while. And other spots I would get together, would get into Mustang Forum, talk to people and other us a lot of these forums, that's a good way of buying one's parts. That there was guys on there that had money and put on this exhaust system. Nah, I don't like the sound
Yep.
off them and it brand new. That's how I save money. And other like-minded people, learn how to do stuff. See, and what's cool is some people would be like, "Hey, let's get together at my house, have a barbecue," and be like, "Hey, they have all the tools and the know-how. Wanted to install something. Let's take turns and we'll the cars and install stuff."
Yeah, see, like I
It's
grew
it,
up in the in like back up in Iowa. I grew up in the street racing scene, and like it was big, believe it or not. The street racing scene in my hometown in Iowa, there were always 100 plus cars there, like every weekend. And we ran that town. Like, I'm not even kidding. We ran that town, and the cops knew it. Like, there was nothing they could do about it. They'd try, but there was nothing they could do about it. So, like, when, a few years later, as I grew up, and then a few more years, I moved down here, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm moving to Daytona, right? There's got to be a good street scene here. What a joke. Like, there's maybe 20 cars at the local street scene.
I would think there would be in Daytona.
Huh?
Angel. You would think so in Daytona.
Yeah. Yeah, especially given the pedigree and the history that this place has. You'd think there'd be a huge street scene here, but it's like not practically non-existent, and the only people that are there are, you know, 16 to 21, probably 16 to 21, and then there's always like the couple of outliers who are in their 40s who show up in their muscle cars to make fun of the kids in their racers.
Racers with fart cans on them.
Yep. The 40 to 60-year-olds who show up in their $150,000 Chargers or Camaros or yeah. So that's fun.
I remember. Yeah. I mean, like from gaming to another hobby that I got into. Probably started with buddies at work. Somebody had a RC car into work, and yeah, that's one of the hobby type. A long time, so I'm trying to remember all the names, and I think it was like a HP, and you can get a trick or actress.
Yeah, I wanted to try and get into those a while ago, but like, if you want to get into the good ones, it's just so expensive. Like
it is, and
so crazy expensive.
I have a good job, and I had a good job back then. This was probably early 2000s. So when I saw my buddy's RC car, and we started talking, and there was a hobby shop had a track.
Mm-hmm.
Their shop, nice outdoor track and setup. I would go and visit to watch, and I would take the kids over there and hey, let's go check out these RC cars. Watch them for a little store and look at everything, and I do my research and try to figure this out. So my first car was a nitrous, was HP. I think it was HP. I would take it to the track, and there was other guys there that about my age or older.
Mm-hmm.
They had all the setup. They had a nice table. Had all their tools. They were smart. They brought out the canopy because so much of a place there to get out of the heat. And they're not set up. This one guy was real cool, and he I had my little table and kind of keep in tune and out there. And of course, I was last. Get used to it and made a few things for that track and this and that. So it was cool. I had a lot of fun, and it was expensive. I mean, trying to care of a family, and at the same time, you're like, man, I really want to do this, and you see all these parts and
Yeah.
kind of soup them up. It's one of those things where I can't have the money to fix up a real car because that's more expensive. Well, this little car that's cheaper, and my ex back then, she's like, didn't understand. Why are you doing that? That's still a lot of money. Why
Well, I mean, if we're talking
just
parts, they're not that much more inexpensive than a normal car.
yeah, you're right, because we're getting into it, and you want the good stuff.
Yeah.
Have the right tires, and I remember around that time, and I would read magazines and get on forums.
Mm-hmm.
That's when around the time when the brushless motors started coming into play. I was like, I can get that. So I really got into the RC. last thing I wanted to get an off-road, like a buggy type, because I remember there was, somebody had opened up a nice outdoor track, RC. Almost got into that, and then I just, all right, let me pack this up. So I got a garage full of RC parts and coolers and stuff.
Nice.
But one day I'll bust it out. Now that I can afford it more, wife, we've been 10 years, very supportive of my hobbies. So it's easier now to get into hobbies. Thank you.
It is.
So
it's not easy to find someone who will support you. And no, but I just got out of a 10-year relationship, so I'm not headed there anytime soon.
I don't know how that was with her. Did she support your hobbies or whatever? It's rough when they don't.
Some of them, yeah. I mean, she was as supportive as she could be. I mean, she wasn't a detriment. We'll put it that way. She never nixed any of my hobbies or anything like that. I just, it didn't feel like support. Do you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't a problem with it. She just wasn't like super, hey, that's really cool, or you know, what you're doing, it seems to make you really happy, or you know, supportive. She wasn't that way.
See, my wife, she does buy me stuff. She bought me the light set up. She made this cup. Well, she got it made.
Nice. That is beautiful.
She went. So she does support me. She will buy me stuff that goes with my gaming room, and she has her own hobbies too. Like she loves to bake. She's very good at making sugar cookies, and very detailed, almost perfect. Very anal with that stuff, and I support her on that. You know, sometimes I have to go run to the bake shop, go get equipment and stuff like that. So
I hyper support anybody who feels they have a good sugar cookie recipe, because a good sugar cookie, in my opinion, is very difficult to do.
Yeah, my wife, and she does it on the side, like she's kind of like a side business. People, you know, can you make some cookies, even cakes? Like her family, you know, I don't really like cake, but I will eat her cake. I consider her cake better than any family who's all very competitive on that. Yeah, I mean, we support each other, and
that's really
kind of a healthy thing you want when. And as long as you work, you make decent money, can you afford it? Not crazy about it, you know.
Right. Yeah, I would
like
really.
Here, I have my game
room.
Yeah. I've been able to set up a game room and a nice custom desk, and just build a PC. Too long. I remember we talked about that in chat. It's a budget PC, but it's a start. Oh.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. I do not knock budget at all. Budget is where it's at, because you get the most bang for your buck in the budget area.
My buddy Super Cooper, I don't know if he's in chat, really helped me out. He put the list together. That deal, you can go on you can go to that
PC
web
part
page.
picker probably.
Yeah, and he went in there and he told exactly, hey, this is what you want to get that works together for budgets. Helped me out a lot on that.
Yeah, and putting it together is it's not that difficult. Like,
so I was right at first, and I watched a few videos, but then once I started putting it together, I was like,
I mean, everything has its place, and if you try to put it somewhere it doesn't go, it doesn't fit. So
it won't work.
Right.
So now I'm already excited to. My oldest just graduated from high school, and she's a gamer. She's actually going to school for graphic design, to do animation, and she's gonna also minor in media. Like going at where she's a gamer. Her mom bought her a expensive Alienware laptop.
Wow, that's expensive.
Was her graduation present. My ex got her, so I told my daughter, I said, when you're ready, I want to we'll build a computer together. I told her, find the case you want, and might even build her better than mine. So
yeah,
she's gonna need it.
Have I shown you my computer before? I don't remember if I sent you pictures or
I
not.
don't think so. I know we talked about it.
I don't know how well the green screen's gonna do with it, but that's it right there.
Cool. Yeah. I seen. I got mine. It was a DIY case. Um, the front
DIY
part of it
PC.
didn't have the.
Yeah.
The front part didn't have the opening. I know I had the fans up front. So I mean, it does suck up air, I guess, on the side and from the bottom, and hoping that it would be a little bit more open up front. I
Yeah.
think I could buy
When I
be able
did,
to buy a different front, right? Or another
for
case
some of
later on down the
them,
road that
for some of them you can. I did a lot of research when I
but this
chose my case, and I actually paid more than I should have for my case because they didn't make it anymore. One of the best resources, like, I say this, you will be bored to death if you try to watch a whole video. But if you are looking for good case reviews, go to a YouTube channel called Gamers Nexus. They're a very, very analytical channel. They have a perfected testing methodology for like their cases when they do CPU reviews and all that stuff. And like for the money, this PC case that I bought, I ended up paying like 120 or 130 for it, so it's not like horrible, but it's definitely not budget case. But it was like number 3 in cooling at the time in the world, so that's like the specific reason I got it.
that is very important. Like he bought a PC around the time that I got mine going. That I was into PC. That again, that was another little hobby of mine. Started that they weren't they. I started getting a PC in on 97.
It's about when I was getting into it.
I first got my job. I remember, I didn't know anything about PC. I see them in the stores, and I would see the games on the shelf, and of course, you had to look at this what spec, what kind of PC do you need to run this. Oh, one of my first checks, I'm buying a PC at Walmart. I don't know what brand it was, brand, but just bought it just to get one and played a couple little games. Nothing really, I can't remember. Then a couple years later, I was like, buy a remember Gateway?
Mm-hmm.
When they first
the cow box
came around, I bought one of those and a little bit better spec. Asked me what it was because
I don't remember computer specs from back then either. I don't blame you.
I know it was good enough to run a lot of the games then.
Yeah, I mean that was back before dedicated graphics cards were a big deal. I mean they've always been around, but that's before they were a big deal on the consumer level.
No, one of the things that was kind of big around that time, well, somewhat, was RAM.
Mm-hmm.
And more RAM. So I remember buying. I remember going from 8 to 16. That was a big deal for me. Just out.
Yeah.
Do the research and make sure I got put in the right slots, and buy two of them were 8 in the right slot. That was about the extent that I went, but I remember playing Deus Ex. Was it Deus Ex? However you say it. Played the first one on PC. We'll play a lot of strategy, like Iberian Sun and Alert and like that. Play more strategy games. RTS is on.
RTS for the win. Like Age of Empires, Rise of Nations, like all those games. Crusader, all those games. Oh man, RTS. Bring real RTS back. Everybody, please listen. Bring it back.
I think it's coming back.
Yeah, and I don't mean Civilization. I don't mean turn-based. I mean real-time.
I played Civilization. I just got the free one on Epic. And it's okay, but...
I mean, I just, I get the appeal of Civ. Yeah. And, I'll play Civ, but it's not real-time. There's a very big, drastic difference between, Civ and Age of Empires. And, that real-time nature of a real-time strategy game is just one of the most amazing and fun things, because I love to think like that. You got to be thinking about every single side of everything. Your economy, if your population's happy in some games, if where your enemies might be, if they're going to attack you, the politics. I love the multitasking nature of
that kind of
RTS.
yeah. And I'll tell you what, there was a couple good ones that I saw in the game shows recently. One that I do want to Iron Harvest.
Mm.
It'll look pretty cool. I'm gonna check that one.
I'm
Still need to
actually
get back to Gears Tactics, so
I'm actually excited.
difference.
I just bought like a month ago. GameStop had a 50% off used sale, or it wasn't 50% off. It was buy two for $9.99 and get two free, or something like that, for used games. So I bought like 4 games. Well, I bought 2 games, but I got 4 games, and one of them was Halo Wars 2. I played the first one and I liked it, but like it was on a console, so eh. But I am excited to play the second one, because I've never seen a single thing about the second one, and that's why I'm excited about it, because I know absolutely nothing.
Things. You should play it before Halo Infinite comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something there, and I haven't played it either, but I think I might too. That will come out in Halo.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Play that story. So back then, I was into PC there for a little bit. When I got married, well, right before me and my wife got married, I had a friend at work who was an IT guy, and we were kind of thinking about buying a computer. And hey, I'll sell you my old gaming computer, and asked me what was in there either, because I didn't even bother getting involved. And oh, does it work? Okay, it's a good deal. Okay, load it to us, and I had the open glass, and was trying to get into around the time right before the Old Republic. I remember signing up for the beta for that, and I played that for a little, but for some reason I just didn't.
You mean the MMO?
Oh.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better since beta. Like
yeah, and I may jump into it.
I was actually I was playing it earlier with Brian 1701. I don't remember what his YouTube tag is. If you're still in chat, Brian, say something. I don't know. But I was just I hopped in for a little bit to play with him, because Brian Hill, Master of None. Yeah, that one. I was just playing a little bit with him earlier today, because we had to reschedule Bridge Commander or Bridge Crew to tomorrow. And I was so excited to play that game again. Like, I was just walking through, the first few missions with him, and I miss it. Like, I had so much time of my life invested into that game, and I miss it. Especially if you were an original KOTOR fan, like.
Yeah,
it's a continuation. Play it as a single player
Still one
game.
of my favorite. I went back and played when they made them BC Xbox. Back and read this one. But the second one.
Yeah, like, even if you don't make another one,
did a good job. It looks pretty decent.
Yeah, just remake it, but don't like change anything. Just remake it, and okay, maybe change one thing. Make it real time. Make the combat real time, and then like leave everything else the same, and update the graphics. That's perfect gold. Because I was actually really disappointed when KOTOR came out. Because I was like really heavily into the Jedi Knight games at that point. So like first person, and then like / third person when you got to Outcast and Academy. So I was really, really into those. And like when KOTOR was announced, like pre-game gameplay footage or anything, I was super excited because the story looked amazing, and I was like, yes, this is going to be the spiritual successor to the Dark Forces franchise. And then I got it, and I started playing it, and I hated it. I was like, why? Why did you choose this style of gameplay? And like, I didn't go back to it for like another year or 2 years. And then I played through it and I was like, okay, the story redeems it. The story redeems it completely. It's not like Final Fantasy VII where the story can't make up all the problems with Final Fantasy VII, but the story completely redeemed KOTOR for me, and I will replay it to this day on a modern gaming PC. Like, yeah, but I would still prefer it was real time.
I guess I guess remember when I realized that's what it was. Uh, I was like, okay. I just went with it and got the, to a point where okay, now that I know what I need to do to
Yeah,
get all your characters to what you want them to do. So I yeah, KOTOR is definitely one of my top, probably one of my top two. Uh, Number one game is um, Protect My Ball.
mm,
Ball NFL. So
gotcha.
I played the crap out of that. NES, the Super NES, the Super NES, Super Tecmo Bowl 3 is my favorite. And I'm not really into sports games nowadays because it's just not fun.
Yeah, and
Too
they
serious,
seem to be just like
simulated.
reiterations of the same thing over and over.
And my brother, one that's 2 years younger than me, of course, we played all the same games, so we have a lot of the same likes for games. But he loves his NBA stuff, loves Madden, and he has friends that work and they do tournaments. And I try getting into with them, and it's like, yeah, you guys are too serious. Let's take this stuff. Brother's
Yeah,
good at that stuff, but
I'm
like,
pretty
nah, I'd rather.
anti-sports myself. Like, I wouldn't. There's one exception. Like, I would come back to sports and or sports gaming for a remake of NFL Blitz.
Yeah, yeah.
That is what I would come back to sports and gaming. That's the only way they would get me back.
It doesn't need. We can have the seasons, have the trading, and you do all that other stuff. But it doesn't need to look super realistic. It
Yeah,
doesn't,
make it fun again.
make it fun. Yeah, and Blitz would be. It's all about you and how you move
Yeah, it was actually about
about.
playing the game called football as opposed to managing the team.
You made the play.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like Madden, you pretty much have to be a coach. You need to know defensive. Oh, he's doing this defensive play. Okay, now I got to do this. It's like protect my ball. That's the best way to do it. If I pick the right play that he did, all my teamers rushing, we got you. It was look, that was fun.
Yeah.
Back then we were playing on the same TV. It was watching. You saw what play I picked. Um, I of course, I played with my brothers, and brother is 9 years younger than me. He, you know, I left when I graduated from high school, and I went. He stayed home by himself,
Hmm.
so he got to play all the games that we had and me downs. He would play Super Tecmo all the time. Anytime I came over, he wanted to challenge me. He got real good. He beat me. It was a big thing for him to beat his big brother because
Yeah, yeah.
there's years watching us play and that he would win or he thought he was playing. Um,
Yeah, it's funny.
I mean, like hockey back then,
It,
basketball, baseball games were so much more.
it's funny that you bring up like when you left, he started playing the games and wanted to challenge you when you got back, and because like me and my brother and my whole family, we grew up super religious. So when he turned 18, he went on a mission for the church, and so he left, and I didn't touch his computer or any of that stuff, but like he had games and stuff, and I saw them, and I was like, ooh, shiny cover. And that was the first time I got introduced to Final Fantasy VIII. I had played 7 on PlayStation 1 or something at that point, and like I was appalled by it, but because of the gameplay. Um, but that was the first time I saw, Final Fantasy VIII, and it was this bright, shiny rainbow contorting box, and the graphic pictures that when you open the box looked gorgeous. So I popped it in the computer, and I was like, how could Final Fantasy VII only have come out like 2 or 3 years ago? Like, how is there this much of a of a difference? Like, it was like going from 2D to like 3D plus 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 plus.
Fun.
And like I don't think until this stream he ever knew that I actually played his Final Fantasy VIII. So I guess I just tattled on myself.
And it's brother had all that stuff. Hopefully he didn't break them,
No,
and
I
then he
don't
threw
think
them in
he
the
did
box.
that.
I he was 2 years younger than me. I was already graduated high school and I left. When I would come back home, he got away from pretty much got done with Nintendo, and he got into this.
Mhm.
I think he had the Sega Masters. I remember he had a Genesis, and I think wasn't there with the Genesis you put the 32 or whatever it was on top of it. I can't.
I never had a Genesis. We had NES, or we had Intellivision, NES, and then we would like occasionally rent a Super Nintendo, and then like I think I borrowed a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2 from some friends at some point. And then past that,
So
I bought my Xbox when I was like 15 or something against my parents' wishes.
I was already gone, and I would come back home. I was already into the. Oh, Mike, what was I was talking about because I'm not a Sega guy, Mike. You know that. My brother, I think he had a Genesis, or he had which is one where they had you put the 32X like adapter on top of it. He knows. He knows. My brother had all that stuff, and so I would play whatever he had, and of course we played sports games.
No one's perfect, Chris.
In the Sega world, oh, I can't remember everything. I know one of the first games I played on Sega Genesis for a long time. It was Outer Worlds, out of this another world. It back BC on Xbox here not too long ago, and really loved that game back then. That's one thing that made my brother about having. So yeah, this just had a 32X attachment. Okay,
Well, hey, you remembered
I was
right.
there.
You did good.
I know, yeah. He played a lot of Sega in his high school years. I didn't even know at one time he got a Dreamcast.
Mm.
I didn't even know about it until like a couple years ago, I think, or a year ago. I asked him, "Oh yeah, I had a Dreamcast. When did you tell me about this?" I don't know how a couple years where we really didn't talk much. So as far as gaming, I could once I got out on my own. I remember buying, or would play that along with what I was playing on computer. It was, 97 to 90 computer. 64, I played a couple games on it. Ocarina. I did get with some buddies for 007.
Yeah, I did too.
That was 4 of us plug in. That was the start of, in a shooter with friends. Yep. And from there, the natural progression was it led to Halo.
And Medal of Honor and Call of Duty and yeah.
But I stuck from 64, and then her oldest daughter, I bought her a GameCube and stuff on there. I remember playing Resident Evil on there. Animal Crossing, the first one that came out. And her son, I remember getting a One and a lot of games, a lot of Gran Turismo. That and
Need for Speed Underground 2
what
for
got me
me.
into, I played a lot of all the Need for Speeds in the beginning. I've always been the car games and games, and Theft Autos. That was one thing. What I played probably the most on PlayStation 2 was Gran. Wasn't on Xbox at the time.
No, it wasn't.
So I didn't. For some reason, I didn't jump on the original Xbox when it first came out. I don't know why I didn't. Whatever it was, maybe money or whatever.
It
But
had a
my
really
friends
small fan base when it first came out. I mean, comparatively wise, because Sony had already
did,
had the
and
market at that point.
they did, and I was satisfied with what I was playing on PlayStation at the time. So I was, and plus it was either my ex's son's PS2 or was it mine? I don't know. We went back and forth.
Well, it's just
When
like
my
it
friends
is my
started,
PSP my PSP or is it my son's PSP? I'm not quite sure at this point.
but when Halo came out and my friends started playing it, I would go with go set up in the garage and 4 TVs and 4 Xboxes. It's like, okay, I got to get me an X. Uh, so that's when I jumped on Xbox. It was
Yeah.
just so much fun playing the LAN party, 16 people, and back then, his girlfriend and my ex back then, they just couldn't understand it. Don't get young. We were playing with my friend had his son who better than me at Halo. Like, hey, I want you on my team. We played with other kids in the neighborhood, and I had friends that work with. Who were like, "What's wrong with y'all guys?" Of course, we'd be there drinking beer while we were playing too. So it was just so much fun.
Yeah, I remember in high school, and this is going to say how young I am. In high school, I was one of the few people who had a original Xbox. And of those few people, I was the only one that had wireless controller adapters. And I actually started a video game club in my school. And by the time I ended up leaving school, we had like, I don't know, 60 or so people. And we were all doing competitions and tournaments like every weekend at school, in the gym on big ass projectors. And it was
Nice.
awesome. Those were the days.
I didn't get that much support. And I had friends that played games. I was also an athlete. So I was in high school. Was my video room.
Well, I think we're gonna have to wrap the stream up because someone just pulled up to my house unexpectedly.
Yeah, my wife.
All right,
That's
so
the sign.
it is the sign.
But we talked about a lot, so
Yeah, we did.
I don't know if we got to all your questions, but
Well, they're more guidelines than rules.
this was fun, and getting to know
was.
you, and getting to know each other, and more of this later on. And definitely would love to have you on NLG.
Yeah, I would
too,
love
so.
to do that sometime. And anybody else from NLG that wants to come on BlusTech, feel free to drop me a line. I'm always up for an interview.
Yeah, you need to get him on there. Get Mike on there. Okay, get John. Yeah, Frankie, if you can get Frankie.
Yeah. But anywho, thanks all for coming. Thank you, Chris, for being the guest of honor, and being the first. You were my guinea pig, so.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody.
Later on, everybody.